You think you know pain? Yeah, I know pain. You think you really know pain? I really know pain. Do you think you know pain? I know pain. Then put it to the test. Pain Olympics. Oh yeah. Hey, what's up everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazable doing more music reviews. Thanks for coming on by. Thanks for finding me. We all having fun here. Yeah. Today I am checking out the latest album from a band that I was really surprised put out new music, and that is the band Heavy Heavy Low Low with their latest album, Pain Olympics. For those who don't know much about Heavy Heavy Low Low, they are a very experimental mathcore, psychedelic, just weird post-hardcore band based out of San Jose, and they started back in 2004. They've been around for a while, I guess, in a sense. They were active from 2004 to about 2011. They went on hiatus for a long time and have come back with this new album, Pain Olympics. But before that, they dropped a few EPs, a few albums. And I remember back in like 2008, 2009, when I was going to shows a lot, this band's name would always come up. And I never like actually got to see them perform, even though they toured a lot at the time. And I think also like a lot of my friends were really into them, or a lot of people talked about them. I remember listening to them here and there. I never really could get into them. I just like this. I guess they were just too spastic, too experimental for me at the time. It's just not what I wanted at that time. And it was really hard to get into them. And I feel like this band is one of those bands where you either love them or you hate them. There's no real in between with them. So I'm really excited to check out this newer sound they're putting out with this new album. Me being older and having more experience in terms of life and learning about different music styles and seeing if I really enjoy this, or just in general, if people would generally enjoy this, because that's where most of my views come from. Whether some random person off the street listens to the music I'm listening here, and what their feedback would be. So let's get into this review. And I feel like a good way to describe this newest album from Heavy Heavy Low Low, Pain Olympics, it feels like a fever dream. It balances chaos with groove, ugliness with precision, and nostalgia with, like a weird, distinctive new take on their old style. And you can get a really good sense of that on the opening song here, I'm So Bad at Goodbyes. The band makes it very clear that this just isn't another revivalist mathcore record. So they just really lean into this crazy heaviness that they're bringing with this record. There's this ominous bass and drum crawl that builds and builds and builds before you know it explodes into this fuzzy hypnotic groove. The vocals feel very jagged and quite distorted, and a good way to describe it, it feels like the words are literally being shredded through teeth. And I feel like that really sets a tone for the whole album being very unpredictable. There's this sense of tension on this record that never lets up. Tracks like Chip's Journey and Costco High really push this forward with very layered screams and very blown out bass tones, keeping things very frantic and just letting groove kind of like snake on through the noise. And the riffs seem to be just teetering on collapsing in on themselves, especially on a particular track called I Go Where I'm Kicked, where they're equally parts mesmerizing and chaotic. And in this weird turn of events, it feels very unrestructured, but also very tightly wound. The guitar playing on that particular song is very crazy. Even when the band kind of crams in like a storm of gang vocals, off the rail kind of riffs, and just crushing drums into a 90-second song, it doesn't really feel incomplete, weirdly enough. It feels like, the best way I can describe it, maximalist. They are condensing their sound into such a short amount of time and not really wasting anything. And a very compelling thing about this album is that there's this whole feeling of duality on it. At one moment, it feels very trollish with really like fried vocal textures and very fuzzy and smeared dissonant playing, like on the song Tim's Software. And then it kind of slips into this weird, surprisingly playful play on a nostalgic feeling on the song Soft and Obedient, where it feels like you're jumping back in time to the mid 2000s emo MySpace era, and it's just all wrapped up and very matured. There are hints of, traditional song structures and groove, hinted at the song Vomited Soul. But then you have songs like Hospital Bed Blues, which really completely break away from the chaos with slower, emotionally raw passages that balance out very anguished yells and some very melancholy singing. It's quite disorienting, but in a very weird way, it pulls you deeper and deeper into this strange world, and it's very compelling. And if the record feels like just random noise, it's worth stressing that it isn't. It is definitely a good definition of controlled chaos. Songs like What Makes You Think and Pile of Dead Dogs show that, beneath the madness of heavy, low, low, there's a meticulous sense of arrangement and texture. Like, there's purpose, and nothing was done on here by accident. And so you get the closing song here, which has a very spastic, beachy groove feel to it that really shows that the band is willing to, go into absurd territories without ever really sacrificing their intent and impact. And I gotta say too, the production, it's got to get a lot of credit here too, because this band thrives on distortion, fuzz, and just mess. But the crazy thing is, every instrument cuts through nicely. You can hear everything so well. The blown out bass rumbles without ever really muddling the riffs. The drums are quite chaotic, but very intentional. And the dual vocal approach here, one having more of a squeaky, kind of cartoonish vibe, and another being a bit more guttural, creates a very balance between silliness and just genuine menace. So this latest record from Heavy Heavy Low Low, Pain Olympics, isn't about polish or, being predictable. It's about leaning so far into being unpredictable that it actually becomes its own form of cohesion. It's abrasive, it's funny, it's ugly, it's groovy, it's nostalgic and unhinged, but it all feels purposeful. So I would say Heavy Heavy Low Low has, created something here that doesn't feel like a comeback, but more like an alternate timeline of heavy music. Where this timeline, seriousness isn't the main point, but intensity is what reigns supreme here. So I'm really surprised that, with Heavy Heavy Low Low, my personal experience, I never liked them, but listening to this new album and everything, I gotta say, thoroughly impressed. And I would give this new album from Heavy Heavy Low Low a good 8 out of 10. Yeah, links down below. Tell me what you think about this band, some memories you have of this band, or other similar bands that are very spastic and crazy that I should check out. And until next time, guys, see you in the pit.